Only 3,000 words. That's how much you need to understand 95% of everyday spoken German. So why do so many people learn for years, memorize thousands of words, but still freeze when a German person starts speaking?
Normal, stimmig, ausruhen, traum, normaler Mann.
Because there is a catch. I learned German from zero to fluent and I did my master's in German studies. In this video, I will give you the exact system to learn 3,000 words to become fluent in German as soon as possible. So, if the German language has hundreds of thousands of words, how can 3,000 possibly be enough? It sounds impossible, but it's actually one of the most fascinating discoveries in linguistics. Almost 100 years ago, a linguist George Zip noticed something strange. A tiny number of words dominates everything, while the rest of the words is barely used. This pattern is known as Zipf's law, and this is exactly why a tiny vocabulary can cover such a huge part of everyday communication. The crazy thing is, 3,000 words isn't actually that many. You learn 10 words a day, and that's over 3,000 words in a year. So if learning this vocabulary is actually realistic, why do so many people still fail and struggle to speak? Because there is a huge difference between knowing something and actually being able to use it. Think about going to the gym. You can watch hundreds of workout videos, but your muscles will not grow until you actually use them. Your brain works the same way. Reading a word again and again can make it feel familiar, but it will be stuck in your passive vocabulary. To be able to turn vocabulary into speech, you need
Active recall.
Active recall is about making what you learn usable, actively pulling the information from your brain when you need it. And here's one of my favorite ways to practice it. Work with patterns. Instead of just memorizing words and rules one by one, you put them into a common pattern and then reuse them again and again. Take this sentence. Ich habe Lust auf Pizza. Auf etwas Lust haben is a very common pattern that you can immediately apply to other things. Ich habe Lust auf einen Kaffee, ich habe Lust auf Urlaub, ich habe keine Lust auf Sport, and so on. Suddenly, you are not memorizing 10 separate words. You have learned just one pattern that you can now use in thousands of situations. Patterns are especially powerful for things that are difficult to remember consciously, like German cases. Imagine you are in the middle of the conversation and you want to say, I help my friend in German. You don't want to freeze for 10 seconds thinking, is it ich helfe meinen Freund or ich helfe meinem Freund? The goal here isn't to consciously remember the rule every time. The goal is for the pattern to become automatic. Ich helfe meinem Freund, ich helfe meiner Freundin, ich helfe dir. If you want to practice more patterns like this, I've put together an exercise for 100 most frequently used German-speaking patterns. You can find the link in the description. So next time when you want to express a similar idea, your brain already has a template ready for it. But there is one more piece of a puzzle, because you can practice producing a pattern, but for it to truly become automatic, you need to encounter it in context with native speakers. I remember when I had B1 in German, I thought I was ready for some serious German stuff. So I jumped into reading Das Kapital by Karl Marx. I wanted to go really deep into language and philosophy, but of course I didn't understand anything because that input was too complicated for me. That's why you always need to work with comprehensible input, so input that is challenging enough for you to learn something new, but still easy enough so that you can mostly follow what's going on. Like for example this.
Ich bin Moritz Zimmermann. Jeder von uns hat das
Gesamtwissen der Hosentasche.
Wissen der Menschheit in der Hosentasche. Unbegrenzte technologische
Möglichkeiten.
Here I'm watching How to Steal Drugs Online Fast, a great series that you can watch in German for intermediate learners. And if I come across a word that I don't know, I can simply tap the subtitle and instantly see its translation.
Hast du den Kreuzverhör?
Kreuzverhör.
The tool I'm using for it is LingoPie, and I truly recommend it to all German learners. It even saves my new words into flashcards so I can practice them later. You can watch a lot of authentic content directly on the LingoPie platform or use their extension with Netflix and Disney. LingoPie is kindly sponsoring this video, so if you click the link in my description, you can test it for free for 7 days and get 73% off. So now we have how to learn, but there is still one huge question. How do you know which words to learn first? Because if you only have limited time, you don't want to spend it memorizing random vocabulary. And this is where German gets really interesting. Remember Zipf's law? A tiny number of words dominates everything. So instead of learning random words alphabetically, learn them by frequency. For example, the word anschauen, to look at something, that is in the top 1,000 most frequent German words, will bring you much more value than a very specific word like Kraftfahrzeugzulassungsstelle. And this is the idea behind frequency-based learning. Learn the words you are going to hear and use often. By the way, if you want to learn the 1,000 most frequently used German words, I've created a Notion workbook to do exactly this. The link is in the description. But frequency is not the only reason why a tiny number of words can take you so far in German. Because the German language lets you cheat in a way. A huge advantage that you have as a German learner is compounding. A lot of long, intimidating German words are actually just smaller words combined. Handschuhe, Krankenhaus, Stehlampe. And here's where it gets crazy. German compounds can contain compounds. Geburtstag is already a compound. Add Geschenk and you will have Geburtstagsgeschenk, a birthday present. You do not necessarily need to memorize the whole thing as a brand new word. You can simply build it from the basic words that you already know. And this pattern continues throughout the language. Fahrkartenautomat, Arbeitslosenversicherung, Geschwindigkeitsbegrenzung, and eventually Rindfleischregierungsüberwachung. I remember often when I wanted to say something in German but didn't have the word for it, I would just assemble my own. And surprisingly often, I accidentally created a real German word. Or it was ridiculous, like Haartrockenmachmaschine. But people could still understand what I meant. So you do not need to learn 10,000 German words to speak fluently. You need to learn the right words in the right way, and eventually the German language will do some of the work for you.